This S19 made a very large bang, which was followed by the smell of smoke. I recently got this new 30 amp outlet put in, and I had to shut down everything for about 3 hours, which was the first time in maybe a couple of years. Powered everything back on, this GPU rig had lost its BIOS settings. This GPU rig had lost the Ethernet on its onboard motherboard, and I had to replace the motherboard. This S19 had 3 hash boards fail, but today we're going to look at replacing the dead power supply on this S19. On the outside of the power supply, it tells you the type. This one's an APW 121215 Type D. I ordered in a replacement from Altair Technology in the US, and it's just arrived, so let's get cracking. I should just mention this is not a sponsored video. I've just found Altair Technology really good to deal with. This is the first time I've had to replace a power supply. It looks like I'm going to have to take off the Fruition Designs shroud, both the front and the rear one. There's some bus bars under here, so I'll need to take off the control board cover, and this is the power supply cover, so I'll almost certainly have to take that off as well. Time to disconnect the bus bars now from the power supply. Disconnect the power going to the control board and the control line to the power board. Looks like we have to take off the other shroud as well. Okay, hopefully we can slide this power supply off now and out. Alright, it's all out. I opened up the power supply to have a look as well. I was really expecting to see something blackened in here, but everything looks okay. Nothing to sort of really explain the loud bang or the smell of smoke. So, oh well, maybe it's on the underside of the board. I think while I've got the ASIC this far apart, I might as well take this back panel off and remove the hash boards as well and just give them a little clean. I can disconnect the hash boards from the bus bar to do that. And now to disconnect the data cables. Well, these hash boards are looking incredibly clean. This one too. Alright, I don't think there's anything I can do to make these any cleaner, so I'll just put them back. I think for the moment I'm not going to reconnect the hash boards. I'll get the power supply going and I'll plug in the control board, and I'll just make sure the new power supply and control board start up okay, just in case there's a secondary fault with one of these hash boards. In the new power supply there's these little hooks, and they hook over the top of these rails here. I've just aligned those hooks with the rails, and now I can slide it back on again and re-plug in the data and the power for the control board. Alright, I'm going to put in the C14 cables. I'm using a C14 Y adapter this time. That goes to a C20 on the other end, so that both power points come online at the same time. And lastly, plug in the Ethernet. So I'll power everything up now, so the hash boards won't come online because they have no power and no data. All I want to see is, will it boot up and will the control board work to confirm that these components now are undamaged. That worked really well. The control board and the power supply all came online. I'll put the control board into sleep mode now, so which means it won't attempt to bring the hash boards online. So what I'll do is I'll connect up the hash boards now, because I've got no cooling on them. They won't start mining because it's in sleep mode, so that means I'll better just do a quick test to make sure all the hash boards are working. Put in a screw that holds the power supply in place first. Now it can't slip. Get the bus bars put back in place. We'll reattach the data cable for the hash boards. Okay, we'll retest to make sure the control board can see all 3 hash boards and everything powers up okay. Alright, power's applied now. Let me go check the ASIC GUI. News, everything fired up and it was detected as expected, so now the final assembly. Let's start by getting that faceplate back on again. Now we'll slip on the power supply cover. It's got 2 hooks. It's got to go into those 2 holes and then it slides backwards. Just like that. Then we put in the fixing screw to hold the cover. Now we can slide the top cover back on again. And we'll do up the locking screw for the button. So once you've done that up, that button can't be pushed in anymore. Yep, fixed. I'm not going to put on the rear shroud for the moment, just in case I need to pull this thing apart again, but I'm just going to put in all the screws so I don't lose them. Obviously they'll be in the holes then, so they can't be lost. For Fruition's kit, we've got to unscrew these fan screws because that's part of where the shroud comes in, so I'll just do that now. Okay, got all those off and the fan shrouds. Now I've remembered with the Fruition's kit, you got to screw this back into the fans, and because the fans are just sort of sitting loose now, I'm going to have to take off this side panel, which probably means I've got to take off this top panel so I can hold the fan as I screw it in. So I'll just do all of that off camera since we previously just took that whole bit apart. Okay, now I can start attaching the shroud again. Alright, finally I'll get the power supply cover back on the side. And finally the power supply cover. A little tip I've picked up when putting on this part of the Fruition's kit is it helps if you lift it up off the ground a little bit, so I'll just put a little bit of foam there temporarily. Now this should pretty much just slip on now. That's good. Let's get our first locator screw in. I'll just put a second screw to hold it in place. And now I can remove that bit of foam I was using just to hold it up. I can finally reattach the AC Infinity fan now. They do have an arrow showing the direction of flow, so make sure you have these blowing into the shroud. Wrap some duct tape around this joint to make it more airtight so the air is all definitely going through the ASIC. And finally we've put this fastener around it to hold the joint firm so that nothing can move. Okay, that's all tweaked up and nice and tight now. Now we're proceeding to the final power on. These VivoSun coarse filters as the intake for the AC Infinity fans. I wonder if that's why the hash boards are so clean. I tend to have to wash these about every 2 weeks. They get full of bugs and dust and all sorts of other little rubbish. That ASIC appears to be purring along just nicely, so it was just a dead power supply, and it's all fixed now. So that was my disaster and guide on how to replace a Bitmain S19 power supply. If you like that video, I'm going to leave another one up here that I think you'll like as well.